related to the countries they will be discussing. Remember to insert emotional tags where they fit naturally. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. Today, we're trading in our usual studio chaos for a virtual trip to Southeast Asia. I'm your host, Mira, ready to bring the sunshine and a whole lot of laughter.
And I'm Leo, here to keep things real, maybe a little sarcastic, and definitely caffeinated. What's up, you two? Hope you're ready for a wild ride comparing Indonesia and Malaysia.
Hey, Leo. Always starting with the sarcasm. But seriously, folks, before we dive in, I have to share something that happened to me this week. Well.
Oh, here we go. What kind of delightful disaster did you get yourself into this time, Mira?
So you know how I'm always trying new dance moves, right? Oh, well. I decided to learn some traditional Indonesian dance from a YouTube tutorial.
I can see where this is going.
I was really getting into it, you know. The graceful hand gestures, the swaying, and then I tripped over my own feet and took out a whole shelf of my souvenir collection. Oops.
I can just picture that. A whirlwind of flailing limbs and crashing porcelain. Did any priceless artifacts survive?
A few. A ceramic monkey lost an ear, but I glued it back on. It's now a battle-scarred veteran of my dance practice. The moral of the story? Maybe I should stick to simpler dance routines. Ouch!
Or maybe just clear the area before you unleash your inner dancer. My week was thankfully less eventful. I did manage to spill coffee on my laptop.
Leo, you and Taffy are in a committed, yet very messy relationship.
It's a love-hate thing, Mira. I love it, and my laptop hates it. Anyway, folks, that was our week in a nutshell. Now, let's actually get to the podcast, shall we?
Today, we're diving into two fascinating countries, Indonesia and Malaysia. From bustling cities to stunning landscapes, there's so much to explore.
Get ready for a comparison that's informative, hopefully funny, and maybe even a little bit controversial. Let's get this show on the road.
First up, Indonesia and Malaysia introduction. Oh, hello folks. Mira here, ready to unravel some mysteries, starting with Indonesia and Malaysia to gorgeous countries. But how safe are they, really?
Yo, Leo, safety's not just about stats. It's about vibes, right? I mean, you can walk down the street and just feel something's off.
Totally, but let's kick things off with the numbers. Indonesia's a vast archipelago, and like any big place, it has petty crime, especially in touristy spots.
Pickpockets in Bali are practically an Olympic sport, Mira. I swear, they can swipe your wallet while you're doing yoga.
Hey, easy on the stereotypes. But yeah, being aware of your belongings is key. Violent crime is less common, but it's not non-existent. Whoa.
True. Malaysia is generally considered safer, especially in cities like Kuala Lumpur. But even there, snatch theft can be a thing?
Snatch theft? Tell us more. Is that like a coordinated purse-snatching ballet?
Not quite ballet, but speedy. Motorbike zooming by, grabbing bags gone in seconds. Keeping your bag on the opposite side of the street is pro tip numero uno.
Good to know. So, both countries have petty crime, but what about bigger stuff? What are the cultural factors at play?
In Indonesia, Godaan Moran, the spirit of communal cooperation, can play a big role. People look out for each other.
Oh, that's lovely. Is that like, if you drop your wallet, a whole village will help you find it? Oh.
Maybe not the whole village, but definitely a few good Samaritans. Malaysia has a similar thing with Muay Chai Ba promoting goodwill and harmony.
So, culture kind of acts as a social safety net. That's awesome. But what about the not-so-good stuff?
Well, corruption can be an issue in both countries, which can sometimes affect law enforcement effectiveness. Yikes.
Nobody likes corruption. Does this have any impact on the tourists?
Not directly, but it can erode trust in the system. And like anywhere, be wary of scams targeting tourists. They're crafty.
Speaking of scams, I once heard a story about a fake monk scam in Bali. Tell me something about these scams. Wow.
Oh, those guys are pros. They'll try to get you to donate to a temple that doesn't exist or bless you with a magic item that costs a fortune.
So, basically, if a monk approaches you with a donation request, run in the opposite direction? Or just politely say no. Thank you.
Politely is always better. Politely is always better. Don't be rude. It's bad karma. But be firm. Now let's talk about Malaysia. Is there anything specific we need to know?
Malaysia is a generally safe country, especially compared to many other Southeast Asian nations. You could walk around almost worry-free.
That's true, but don't get too relaxed. Crime can still happen anywhere. Better to stay vigilant than sorry. Am I right?
I think we covered the basics. What about online scams? Are there any prevalent in those countries? Wow.
Definitely. Online shopping scams, fake investment schemes, same old song and dance, just with a Southeast Asian twist. Always double check before you click.
Both Indonesia and Malaysia are generally safe, but awareness is key. Watch your belongings, be wary of scams, and trust your gut.
Exactly. And remember, a little bit of street smarts goes a long way wherever you are in the world. Now, how about we talk about political stability?
Alright, Leo. Let's dive into Indonesia and Malaysia's political scene, shall we? It's like comparing to different dance styles at a festival. How do these countries keep the rhythm steady?
Mira, you always find a way to make politics sound like a party. Well, Indonesia, being the world's third largest democracy, has had its share of political dramas, coups, reforms, the whole shebang. Well, but lately, it's been relatively stable under President W.I. Dodo, or Joker W.I. as everyone calls him.
Joker W.I. The people's president. Oh, and what about Malaysia? I know their political landscape has been a bit of a roller coaster recently.
Whoa, a roller coaster's putting it mildly. Malaysia's had a revolving door of prime ministers since 2018. It's like they're playing musical chairs, and nobody wants to be the last one standing. But, despite the changes, the country institutions are still functioning.
Indonesia's got a steady leader, and Malaysia's got a very dynamic leadership situation. What about social harmony? Are these countries like a perfectly tuned orchestra, or more of a chaotic garage band?
Mira, you're killing me. Indonesia's got a hugely diverse population, thousands of islands, and a bunch of different religions. It's like a cultural buffet, but sometimes people squabble over who gets the last spring roll.
Cultural buffet, I love it. And Malaysia? Is it a similar situation?
Malaysia is also pretty diverse with Malays, Chinese, Indians, and indigenous groups. They've had some racial tensions in the past, but for the most part, people get along pretty well. It's like a mixed fruit salad, sometimes a little sour, but mostly sweet.
Both countries have their challenges when it comes to social harmony. What does all of this mean for expats thinking about moving there?
Good question, Mira. For Indonesia, expats should be aware of the potential for political protests and social unrest, especially around election time. But day-to-day life is usually pretty chill.
And for Malaysia?
Well, expats might want to keep an eye on the political situation, but it's unlikely to affect their daily lives too much. The bigger concern might be navigating the different cultural norms and expectations.
In both countries, it's about being respectful and understanding of local customs. It's like learning the local dance moves before you hit the dance floor.
Exactly. And being aware of the potential for political or social instability, even if it's not directly impacting your life. It's like knowing where the emergency exits are before you settle in for the movie.
So, to sum it up, Indonesia? Steady leader, diverse population with potential for unrest. Malaysia? Revolving door of leaders, diverse population with mostly harmonious relations. Both require cultural sensitivity. Any final thoughts?
Just that both countries are fascinating places to live, but do your homework before you pack your bags. And maybe learn a few local jokes. It always helps to break the ice. Maybe some Indonesian or Malaysian can help those who are listening to us on YouTube right now. Don't forget to rate, friends.
Couldn't agree more. And if you're still on the fence, head over to Jet-Off AI for more insights.
You know, Mira, I think these two countries are fascinating. Do you think we should also compare the crime rates in these countries?
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. Let's do it. All right, Leo. Let's dive into the wallets of expats. Economic conditions and cost of living in Indonesia versus Malaysia. I'm picturing sunshine, street food, and spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets in paradise, Mira? Sounds like my kind of party as long as there's coffee. Economic realities can be harsh. Let's see if we can soften the blow with some humor.
Oh, first up, Indonesia, land of 1 million islands and potentially 1 million different prices. What's your take on the job market there?
Well, Mira, unless you're effluent in Bahasa and have connections deeper than a Jakarta traffic jam, you might find the expat-friendly job market a little selective. Opportunities exist, but competition's fierce.
Picture this, you're fighting for a job against someone who knows all the local slang and can haggle like a pro at a market. Sounds like an action movie. Wow.
Exactly. But on the flip side, that lower cost of living can be a real draw. You can live like royalty on a budget that would get you a cardboard box in some western cities.
The life like royalty dream, eating nasi goreng in a palace made of, well, affordable bamboo. What about Malaysia? Is it easier to find work there?
Malaysia is a bit more straightforward. English is widely spoken, so the language barrier isn't as daunting and the economy is more diversified. You might actually find a job that aligns with your resume.
You're saying Malaysia is like the responsible older sibling who has their life together, while Indonesia is the fun, wild one who might borrow your shirt without asking.
Precisely, and that responsibility translates to a slightly higher cost of living. Kuala Lumpur isn't exactly Monaco, but it's pricier than Jakarta.
So let's talk numbers. Give me a ballpark figure. What does it cost to live comfortably in, say, Bali versus Kuala Lumpur? Any funny anecdotes about your own budgeting fails?
Bali, you could swing a decent life for, say, $1,500, $2,500 USD a month. Kuala Lumpur, bump that up to $2,000, $3,500 TH, and my budgeting fails. Let's just say I once tried to live on instant noodles for a week. Oops, my internal organs staged a protest.
Ouch. Let's unlearn it, don't mess with your insides. But hey, instant noodles are practically a cultural experience in some parts of Asia. Right?
You're trying to make me feel better, aren't you? Fine. I'll accept that, but cultural or not, I'd rather have some proper Malaysian nasi lemak.
Is it true that you can eat like a king for pennies in both countries? Or are there some hidden gourmet scams we should warn our listeners about?
You can eat well for cheap, but watch out for the tourist tax menu. Suddenly your street food costs as much as a Michelin star meal. Wow. Always compare prices, or just learn to haggle with a smile.
With a smile, love it. It's like a social game where the prize is cheap as satay. And what about rent? Is it cheaper to live in a treehouse in the jungle or a condo with a pool?
Treehouse living sounds romantic until you meet the local wildlife spiders the size of your face and mosquitoes that carry tiny, caffeine-fueled chainsaws. A decent condo with a pool in KL is still cheaper than a shoebox in London.
So no tours and fantasies. Got it. But seriously, are there any major differences in healthcare costs or education expenses that expats should consider?
Healthcare in Malaysia is generally better and more accessible, but you'll pay more for it. Indonesia has cheaper options, but the quality can be variable. Education, international schools are pricey in both, but local schools are a steal.
It's a trade-off, pay more for peace of mind, or gamble a bit for affordability. Sounds like life in a nutshell. And any last words of wisdom for our financially minded expats?
Do your research, learn some basic phrases, and embrace the chaos. And for the love of all that is holy, don't try to live on instant noodles alone.
Couldn't agree more, Leo. Know your limits, embrace the culture, and always carry a sense of humor and maybe some backup snacks. Let's let's dive into where our listeners might lay their heads in Indonesia and Malaysia. You ready to swap hotel horror stories?
Ready as I'll ever be, Mir. Let's see if we can find a place that doesn't have bedbugs doing the salsa. Indonesia versus Malaysia accommodation style begin.
Indonesia. Think everything from bamboo beach shacks in Bali, where you can literally roll out of bed and into the ocean, to sprawling villas in Jakarta. Wow, it's a total spectrum, right?
Absolutely. And let's not forget those quirky little guest houses in Yogyakarta, where you might find a gecko sharing your shower. Variety is the spice of life and the potential nightmare fuel of light sleepers.
True, and quality-wise, it's just as varied. You could get a 5-star resort with infinity pools overlooking rice paddies. Or a homestay, where the family includes you in their daily life, complete with questionable plumbing.
Speaking of questionable, I once stayed in a place where the showerhead was basically a garden hose duct taped D to the wall. Oops. Authentic Indonesian experience, I guess.
Okay, Malaysia's up next. It's a bit more polished, wouldn't you say? Think modern condos in Kuala Lumpur, colonial era bungalows in Penang.
Right. Malaysia's got that slightly more organized vibe. You're less likely to find a lizard sunbathing in your living room, more likely to find a swimming pool on the roof.
So I hear Kuala Lumpur rents can be eye-watering. Are we talking New York prices or just a kidney?
Let's just say you might need to sell a kidney if you want a view of the Petronas Towers. Ouch. But hey, think of the Instagram opportunities.
True. Plus, Malaysia has those amazing eco-resorts in Borneo. Imagine waking up to the sounds of the rainforest. Not a gecko, but maybe an orangutan peeking in your window.
Now that's an upgrade. Though, if an orangutan did break in, I'd hope he at least knew how to make coffee. A well-caffeinated primate roommate would be a social media goldmine.
Okay, let's talk budget. In Indonesia, you can live pretty cheaply if you embrace the local lifestyle. Small town rentals or something.
Yeah, you can definitely stretch your rupiah further. But remember, cheaper isn't always better. You might end up sharing a wall with a rooster who moonlights as a heavy metal drummer.
Malaysia is generally more expensive, especially in the big cities. But you often get what you pay for in terms of amenities and cleanliness.
Right. You're paying for the convenience, the infrastructure, and the distinct lack of surprise wildlife encounters. Ooh, unless you count those monkeys in bat caves.
Good point. And what about short-term rentals like Airbnb? Any experiences there?
Airbnb is huge in both countries. You can find some seriously cool places, from artsy studios in Ubud to swanky apartments in Kyle. Wow, just read the reviews carefully. You don't want to end up with a place that's when it should be habitable.
To live by, Leo. So, to sum it up, Indonesia offers wild variety and budget-friendly options, while Malaysia is a bit more predictable and polished. Agreed.
Nailed it, Mira. It's all about what you're looking for: adventure and affordability, or comfort and convenience.
Leo, let's tackle the delightful world of visas, immigration, and official procedures, a bureaucratic journey. Indeed. So Indonesia versus Malaysia. Which one hands you the welcome mat or the paperwork gauntlet first?
Mira, paperwork gauntlet on it. It's like The Amazing Race, but with more stamps and less running. All right, let's see. Indonesia, Malaysia, visa vibes.
Now, for Indonesia, I hear getting a tourist visa is pretty straightforward for many nationalities. Visa on arrival, boom, beach, here I come. Now I also hear extending it can feel like navigating a jungle of red tape.
Jungle of red tape, that's Indonesia in a nutshell. It's like, welcome to paradise. Now fill out these 17 forms in triplicate. I'm exaggerating. Slightly. Malaysia, on the other hand, tends to offer longer visa-free stays for tourists from many countries. Right?
Right. Yeah. Malaysia often gives you a good chunk of time without needing a visa at all. It's like they're saying, come, enjoy our nasi lemak. Stay a while.
Nasi lemak genius move? Malaysia knows the way to travelers' heart is through their stomach. But what about longer stays? You know, when you decide to ditch your old life and become a beach bum.
Well, that's where it gets interesting. For Indonesia, getting a long-term stay permit, like a KIT can be a bit of a quest. Wow. Sponsorship, paperwork, interviews. It's a whole thing.
A quest indeed. It sounds like you need to befriend a local shaman to get all the approvals. Malaysia's MMH program Malaysian, my second home used to be a popular route. But I hear the requirements have gotten stricter.
They have. The MMH program used to be the golden ticket, but now you need to prove you're basically made of gold. Ouch. Indonesia's got some similar retirement visa options, but also with hoops to jump through.
Both countries seem to be saying we love tourists, but if you want to live here, you better prove you're serious and wealthy. Oh, what about business visas? Any insights there?
Business visas are another kettle of fish. In Indonesia, you often need a local sponsor, and the process can involve some, shall we say, flexibility in interpretation.
Flexibility code for bring your sense of humor, and maybe some extra snacks for the officials. I imagine Malaysia has a slightly more streamlined approach, perhaps.
Malaysia generally has a more structured process for business visas, but it still involves paperwork and demonstrating the value you bring to their economy.
Gotcha. So in both cases, doing your homework and potentially hiring a local consultant is key to avoiding a bureaucratic meltdown.
And don't forget the cultural nuances. In Indonesia, a little bit of bouquet how they're doing things with heart can go a long way. Whoa.
Okay, had I love it. Malaysia has its own cultural expectations to being polite, respectful, and patient can definitely grease the wheels. It's less a paperwork gauntlet, more a charm offensive.
So, for visa ease, Malaysia might edge out Indonesia slightly for short stays, but both require dedication and preparation for anything longer.
Sounds like solid advice. Do your research, bring your patience, and maybe pack a few extra snacks just in case.
Before we forget, if you want to make your move safely and don't want to get lost along the way, please visit our Jet Off AI website.
Yes, this is the right place for you. I didn't say that, you said it.
All right, Leo. Let's dive into access to and quality of health services in Indonesian Malaysia. Think of it as healthcare, but through the eyes of someone who just moved there. Ready for some medical tourism insights?
Medical tourism? More like medical adventure for expats. All right, Mira, hit me with those stats. I'm picturing myself needing stitches after a particularly enthusiastic street food experience.
So, Indonesia has a universal healthcare system called JKN, but expats often find it easier to use private hospitals. Public healthcare can be a bit challenging. Wow, think long lines and maybe a language barrier.
Long lines. In Indonesia? Whoa, that's saying something. I thought everything moved at its own pace there. So, private it is then. See it shaking. Oops.
They're really pushing medical tourism, so private hospitals are top-notch and often cheaper than in Western countries. Plus, English is widely spoken.
English? Spoken? Wow. In Seoul, I can barely order coffee in most countries without a charade. So, Malaysia sounds like the place to be if I want a hip replacement and a decent conversation.
In Indonesia, make sure your health insurance covers you internationally. Some expats even fly to Singapore, Australia for serious stuff. Yikes. Sounds complicated, right?
Singapore or Australia? Whoa, that's quite a commute for a checkup. He'd probably just self-diagnose with Google, which we all know is always a great idea. Insert sarcasm there.
Speaking of Google, don't even think about it. Trust me, WebMD says everything is cancer. Malaysia is way easier for expats, with excellent facilities and many doctors trained abroad.
So, Malaysia less chance of ending up on a medical drama, more chance of actually understanding what the doctor's saying. Got it, and potentially cheaper. I like the sound of this.
But both countries have amazing traditional medicine practices too. In Indonesia, there's jamu, herbal remedies passed down through generations.
Jamua, huh? Sounds like something you'd try just for the story. Ooh, I can already picture myself drinking some mysterious concoction and suddenly speaking fluent Indonesian. Or maybe just hallucinating.
Meanwhile, Malaysia has traditional Malay medicine, which combines herbal treatments with spiritual practices. Kinda cool, right?
Spiritual practices? Now we're talking? Maybe I can finally figure out why my socks always disappear in the laundry.
Okay, let's get a bit serious, or as serious as we can get, on this podcast. For expat, research is key. Find out which hospitals are reputable and what your insurance covers.
Research. Aha! Got it. Spend hours online instead of enjoying the local culture. Just kidding. But yeah, knowing your options is definitely important. Unless you like surprises in your IV drip.
And don't forget about those pesky visa requirements and healthcare coverage if you're planning a longer stay.
Visas, insurance. The paperwork vortex. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure, but with more confusing forms and higher stakes. Sounds like a blast.
I know, right? But overall, Malaysia tends to be more straightforward for access to quality healthcare as an expat, while Indonesia might require a bit more planning and navigating.
So, Malaysia is the easy mode of expat healthcare, while Indonesia is expert mode. Got it. Good to know if I'm trying to avoid a medical comedy of errors.
And remember, folks, this is just a general overview. Always consult with healthcare professionals and do your own research. Stay safe and healthy out there.
Exactly. Don't take medical advice from a comedian. Unless, maybe I should get a medical degree? Dr. Leo, at your service? Bad effects may include uncontrollable laughter.
You probably prescribe laughter as a cure for everything. Feeling a bit down? Here, watch my stand-up routine. Boom!
It's worth a shot. I mean, it's either that or more mystery Gemmo. And still not sure about those side effects. Maybe Jet Alfea can provide some in the future about what to do after drinking Gemmo.
But speaking of health, if people like this kind of continue to, they can like it, right? It might even be a good way to promote people to improve their health.
You're on a roll. Well, that wraps it up, folks. Stay healthy, stay informed, and maybe avoid questionable street food. Unless you're feeling adventurous.
Agreed. We'll catch you in the next episode. Stay tuned. Alright, let's dive into transportation infrastructure and convenience in Indonesia and Malaysia. Buckle up, Leo. It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Or a smooth one, depending on the road.
Bumpy or smooth, I'm ready, Mira. As long as there's coffee at the destination. Tell me, what's the lowdown on getting around in Indonesia? Is it all go J kind hope?
Well, Leo, Go JEK is definitely a big part of it. But Indonesia's a massive archipelago, so you've got everything from ferries connecting islands to bustling city buses. Jakarta's got a decent bus rapid transit system. The Trans-Jakarta. Oh, traffic. Ouch. It's legendary.
Traffic, you say? Sounds like my cue to crack a joke about Jakarta's rush hour lasting approximately 23 hours a day. Seriously, though, Malaysia's got its own challenges. But how does it stack up in terms of public transport and road quality, Mira?
Malaysia's got a pretty solid system, especially in Kuala Lumpur. The KL Express train whisks you from the airport to the city center in no time. And they've got a good network of LRT, MRT, and monorail lines. Plus, the highways are generally well maintained. Wow.
So Malaysia's more organized chaos compared to Indonesia's beautiful chaos. Speaking of beautiful, those island ferries in Indonesia sound picturesque, but are they reliable? I wouldn't want to miss my coconut sipping time on the beach.
Reliability can be a bit hit or miss, Leo. Ferry schedules can be affected by weather, especially during monsoon season. But hey, that's part of the adventure, right? Just pack some snacks and enjoy the sea breeze. If it's not too choppy.
Sea breeze and questionable seasonskas. Sounds delightful. So if I'm picturing this right, hopping around Indonesia is for the adventurous, while Malaysia is for those who prefer a slightly smoother ride?
Pretty much. Indonesia's a wild card. You might end up on a crowded bus with a chicken. But you'll definitely have a story to tell. Malaysia's more predictable but still has its own charm. It's like comparing a spicy rendang to a creamy nasi lemak. Both delicious, just different vibes.
Rendang versus nasi lemak. Now you're speaking my language, Mira. Food and transportation, the two pillars of a great travel experience. But back to the topic at hand. What about road conditions outside of the major cities in both countries? Are we talking bottle lodging Olympics?
In some parts of Indonesia, absolutely. Rural roads can be quite rough, so if you're renting a car, an SUV is definitely recommended. Malaysia's generally better, but even there, some smaller roads can be a bit bumpy. Just keep your eyes peeled and your suspension ready for anything.
So, a sturdy vehicle and a sense of humor are essential for both countries. Got it! What about getting from one island to another in Malaysia, Mira? Ferries too, I presume?
Yep, ferries are the way to go. You can hop over to Langkawi for some duty-free shopping or explore the islands off the coast of Sabi and Sarawak. The ferry services are generally reliable, but it's always good to check the schedules in advance, especially during peak season.
Duty-free shopping and island hopping. Now you're tempting me, Mira. So, for our listeners planning a trip, what's your tip, Mira? What's your top tip for navigating transportation in Indonesia and Malaysia? Anything they should absolutely know before they go?
In Indonesia, be prepared for delays and embrace the chaos. Download ride-hailing apps like JEK or Grab, and always negotiate the fare beforehand if you're taking a taxi. In Malaysia, take advantage of the efficient public transportation in Kuala Lumpur, and consider renting a car for exploring the countryside. And most importantly, be patient and enjoy the ride.
Great tips, Mira. Patience is indeed a virtue, especially when dealing with traffic. And speaking of patience, let's give our listeners a chance to share their own transportation adventures in Indonesia and Malaysia. Hop over to Jet-Off AI discussion.
All right, Leo. Let's tackle ninth. Language barrier and ease of communication. Indonesia versus Malaysia. Oh, I'm already picturing myself trying to order street food and ending up with something completely different.
Classic Mira. You probably order ayam goreng and get a durian smoothie somehow. But seriously, let's dive into this linguistic jungle. Indonesia, well, Southeast Asia, but how easy is it to actually talk to people?
Well, Indonesia is a massive archipelago, right? So I'm guessing a bazillion different languages going on. Wow. It's like a linguistic smorgasbord. So how many languages do you reckon they have? Well,
You're not wrong. Indonesia boasts over 700 languages. It's one of the most linguistically diverse countries on Earth. Can you imagine trying to learn even a fraction of those? I'd be signing up for language courses until I'm 100.
ouch. So, what do they all speak to each other? Some sort of magic? Because I can't imagine that. I'm lost for words.
Not magic, Mira. Bahasa Indonesia. It's the official language, a standardized form of Malay. It acts as a lingua franca across all those islands. So, while you might hear local languages in the markets, most people understand and use Bahasa Indonesia.
So, it's like a safety net language. Thank God. Now Malaysia. Is it similar, like a Malay-based language situation? I'm really curious about this.
You bet. Malaysia's official language is also Bahasa Malaysia, which is very closely related to Bahasa Indonesia. They're like linguistic cousins, maybe even siblings. In fact, if you visit Jet-Off AI, you will see so many interesting comparisons,
So, if I master Bahasa Indonesia, can I waltz into Malaysia and start chatting away? Oh, because it would be cool. And I really want to learn all the lingua BUES.
Pretty much. There will be some dialectical differences and some unique slang. But you'd be able to understand and be understood without too much trouble. It's not like trying to speak Italian in Germany or anything.
I always mix up those two. And what about English? Do I have to learn two languages or can I just stick with one?
Good question. English is widely spoken in both countries, especially in urban areas and tourist spots. You'll find that many people in the service industry, business, and education are pretty fluent.
So, I could probably survive on English alone. What? But where's the fun in that, right? Oh, you'd miss all the local jokes and the chance to haggle like a pro. Hee.
Plus, showing some effort to speak the local language goes a long way. People appreciate it when you try, even if you butcher their beautiful language.
Butcher's right, Leo. But in terms of difficulty, are Bahasa Indonesia and Bahasa Malaysia hard to learn? Or will I just breeze through it?
Well, they're generally considered to be relatively easy languages for English speakers. The grammar is fairly straightforward in the alphabet. The pronounce very stern and tricky. The pronounce for Roman alphabet. The pronunciation can be tricky.
Tricky, like trying to pronounce the name of that volcano that erupted, or tricky like trying to say Worcestershire sauce after a few drinks.
Somewhere in between. Indonesian and Malaysian pronunciation involves some sounds that don't exist in English, but with practice, you'll get there. The good part is the words are not written how they're pronounced.
Oh, so, what are the cultural norms around communication? Are Indonesians super chatty, or are they more reserved? Oh, I want to know it's what.
Well, both cultures value politeness and indirectness. Direct confrontation is generally avoided. It's better to be tactful and respectful, especially when dealing with elders or people in positions of authority.
No go Gordon Ramsay on someone if they mess up your nasi goreng then. Got it. Gotta keep the peace. Well.
Exactly. And remember, communication is often contextual. Body language, tone of voice, and the overall situation all play a big role. It is very important.
Oh, I love a bit of expressive body language. Oh, so do you use a lot of hand gestures and facial expressions, or are they more stoic? Aha! Teach me the dance of the cultures.
There's nonverbal communication. For example, using your right hand to give or receive things, as the left is considered unclean. Also, avoid pointing with your finger instead. Use your thumb. Don't forget to visit Jeddah AI to read further insights.
You'd be terrible at that. So what about things like personal space? Do people stand super close when they talk, or do they give you a bit of breathing room? Or I'm gonna elbow someone by accident.
Generally, Indonesians and Malaysians value personal space. They are usually not standing super close. A comfortable distance is maintained. But of course, it all Spain. But of course, it also depends on the individual and the relationship.
True. Some people are just natural huggers, right? Okay, so what's the bottom line? Oh, which country is easier to navigate if you only speak English? Tell me.
I'd say Malaysia might have a slight edge. English is more widely used, and the infrastructure for tourists is more developed. But honestly, you can get by in both countries with English.
But if you want to truly connect with the culture and the people, learning at least a little Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Malaysia is the way to go, right? Wow, always.
Absolutely. It shows respect, opens doors, and allows you to have more meaningful experiences. Plus, you'll get way better deals at the markets.
Deal hunting is my middle name. Speaking of that, I'm actually going to Indonesia with that friend. I will learn some Indonesian. Ooh, can't wait.
Great. Before you go, Mira, remember to support us. Leave like and subscribe. It's free, and you can change your mind after. Anyway, he'll join you from Malaysia one day, and we can put our language skills to the test. I promise he'll know more than just terima kasih.
He'll hold you to that, Leo. And you YouTube fans, if you like this, you can like it. And everyone should.
See you next time.
Okay, bye. Okay, Leo. Indonesia versus Malaysia. Let's talk about cultural diversity and tolerance. It's gonna be a vibrant showdown. Ooh.
Right, Mira? Diversity? Indonesia, a nation of thousands of islands, sounds like a logistical nightmare for a stand-up tour.
Think of all the material. Seriously though, Indonesia is incredibly diverse, right? We're talking hundreds of ethnic groups, languages, religions. Wow.
Indeed. Malaysia, on the other hand, while smaller, also boasts a rich tapestry. Malays, Chinese, it's like a Southeast Asian melting pot.
Now, how do these countries actually do tolerance? I mean, in theory, everyone's for it. But what about real life?
Tolerance. Well, in Indonesia, the Pancasila, the state ideology, promotes unity and diversity. Sounds good on paper.
Good question. I've heard stories of incredible harmony and warmth, but also of tensions, especially concerning religious minorities. What do you think?
Tensions? Whoa, well, Malaysia has its own set of complexities. The boomer-Peter policy favors Malays, which can lead to grumbling from other communities.
Oh, potential for comedic conflict. Seriously though, do you think these policies help or hinder social harmony in the long run?
Hinder? Help? As a comedian, I see jokes on both sides. But seriously, any policy that creates winners and losers is bound to cause friction.
What about everyday interactions? Have you ever witnessed, like, amazing examples of tolerance or, not so amazing?
Amazing? I was once in an Indonesian village where everyone pitched in to help build a mosque and a church, side by side. That's some serious neighborly love.
Wow, that's heartwarming. I've heard similar stories in Malaysia, like during festivals, everyone shares food and celebrates together, regardless of background.
So, but then you hear about social media flare-ups, political rhetoric that stokes divisions. It's a mixed bag, Mira.
Seems like both countries are works in progress, constantly negotiating their identities. So overall, what's your comedic take?
My take? Well, diversity is a great punchline, but tolerance is the setup. Without tolerance, you just have a really awkward joke.
Love it, Leo. So if you're planning a trip, remember your cultural sensitivity and your sense of humor.
Absolutely. And maybe pack some earplugs just in case the cultural fireworks get a little too loud.
So view us on YouTube if you are interested in this and other information. Visit Jet Off AI. Okay, yeah? Let's dive into educational opportunities and language schools in Indonesia and Malaysia. Because honestly, I'm always curious about how different countries approach learning. Ugh.
All right, Mira. Educational opportunities in language schools Indonesia versus Malaysia. This ought to be interesting. It's time to find out if those school bells ring differently in Southeast Asia.
Speaking of ringing, let's start with Indonesia, shall we? The sheer size of the country is mind-boggling. Getting a handle on education there must be quite the logistical feat. They're on top of the game with innovation, yes? Wow.
Logistical feat is an understatement, Mira. Coordinating education across thousands of islands. That sounds like a comedian's nightmare, so much potential for jokes about late ferries and lost textbooks. But yes, they're pushing for innovative teaching methods to keep up.
And what about literacy rates? I know both countries have been working hard, but where do they stand now? I mean, education is the foundation for everything, right? Like, who would teach salsa without education background?
Well, last time I checked, both have pretty solid literacy rates, but Malaysia tends to have a slight edge overall. It's like they're in a race to see who can read the most instruction manuals or maybe just the most menus.
Menus are definitely important. Now, language schools are there many options for foreigners looking to learn Bahasa Indonesia or Malay. Because I've always wanted to casually drop Indonesian phrases into conversations and look super sophisticated. Wow!
Oh, absolutely. Both countries offer plenty of language schools. Indonesia's got a more raw, adventurous vibe, learning amidst bustling markets. Malaysia's schools are slicker, maybe a bit more organized. Choose your learning adventure, Mira.
Choose your learning adventure, I love it. But what about the quality of education? Are the universities in Indonesia and Malaysia attracting international students? Because studying abroad is all the rage these days, especially with great sites like Jet Off AI offering so many cool opportunities. Ooh.
Malaysia's definitely a step ahead in attracting those global students. They've got some well-ranked universities and a push for international partnerships. Indonesia's catching up, but maybe needs to amp up the marketing, more palm trees in the bush shores.
Home trees always help. And what about the teaching styles? Is it all rote memorization? Or are they encouraging critical thinking? Because I'm all about sparking creativity in young minds.
From what I've seen, there's a mix. Older schools might be stuck in traditional methods, but newer institutions are embracing more interactive, student-led learning. It's like the old school meets new school, and it's a bit awkward, but kinda fun.
Well, since we're talking about music, what about arts education? Do they emphasize creative skills? Because sometimes I feel like we forget how important it is to nurture the artistic side of things, you know? Art will be even more precious in the future. Boom.
Not as much emphasis as, say, STEM subjects, but it's there, particularly in cultural hubs like Bali or Penang. It's about preserving those amazing traditions and letting new creative forms bloom, maybe a little gamelan-infused techno.
Gamelan-infused techno and so in. Now, let's talk about the cost of education. Are we talking budget-friendly, or are international students going to need to sell a kidney to pay tuition fees?
Compared to Western countries, both are relatively budget-friendly. Malaysia might be a tad pricier, but still a steal compared to the US or UK. Think of it as getting a top-notch education with a side of tropical vacation.
A tropical vacation, that's the kind of education I like. But seriously, what about access to education for all? Are there disparities between urban and rural areas? Because everyone deserves a fair shot at learning, no matter where they live. Right? Well...
That's the million-dollar question, Mira. Both countries struggle with that. Urban areas get the fancy schools and resources, while rural areas often lag behind. It's a work in progress, but awareness is growing and there are pushes to bridge that gap. Wow!
A work in progress is a great way to put it. Now, let's get practical. What advice would you give to someone considering studying in Indonesia or Malaysia? Any insider tips? Because I always need the inside scoop.
Okay, my insider tip is this: visit first. Get a feel for the culture, check out the schools, and see if you can handle the heat and the humidity. Also, learn some basic phrases. It'll make a huge difference.
Nice advice, Leo. I think that about covers the main points on educational opportunities and language schools in Indonesia and Malaysia. Time to move on and keep the fun going, yeah?
Sounds good to me, Mira. Now to figure out what adventure awaits.
Alright, sunshine lovers and weather watchers. It's Mira here, ready to dive into the steamy world of Southeast Asian climates. Today, we're pitting Indonesia against Malaysia in a battle of the monsoons. Who's ready for a tropical smackdown?
Mira, you make it sound like we're about... You make it sound like we're about to watch the mangoes duke it out. Leo here, embracing myself for humidity levels that make my glasses fog up just thinking about them. Let's see which country sweats it out better.
First up, Indonesia. Picture this: thousands of islands basking under the equatorial sun. We're talking consistently high temperatures, year-round. It's basically summer all the time. Leo, your dream come true, right?
My dream A.N.D., my personal sauna. But seriously, Indonesia's got that classic tropical thing going, hot and humid. But what about those monsoons? I hear they can turn a pleasant beach into a washing machine faster than you can say sunscreen.
You are not wrong. Indonesia has two main seasons, the wet and the even wetter. The rainy season usually runs from October to April, bringing torrential downpours and sometimes those charming little things called floods. Oops.
Charming little things called floods? Mira, you're making it sound like they're adorable garden gnomes. Wow, Malaysia's got its own monsoon madness too, right? I remember trying to navigate Kuala Lumpur during a downpour once. It was like driving through an aquarium.
Malaysia also gets hit by two monsoons. The southwest monsoon from late May to September and the northeast monsoon from November to March. The east coast gets particularly drenched. Prepare for impromptu swimming lessons.
Impromptu swimming lessons. I like that. So, Indonesia's dealing with floods, Malaysia's battling aquarium-like streets. What about extreme weather? Any volcanoes threatening to ruin a perfectly good beach vacation?
Well, Indonesia is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, so volcanic eruptions and earthquakes are definitely a thing. Keep an eye on those travel advisories, folks. But hey, volcanic soil makes for some incredibly fertile land. You win some, you run some, you run from lava.
Only Mira could find a silver lining in a volcanic eruption. What about Malaysia? I'm picturing dramatic lightning strikes over the Petronas Towers. Ooh.
Malaysia doesn't have quite as many volcanoes, thank goodness, but it's not immune to those heavy storms and flash floods. The low-lying coastal areas are particularly vulnerable. Keep those umbrellas handy. Aha!
So, both countries are basically locked in a perpetual battle with humidity and monsoons. What are the locals doing to cope? Are they building houses on stilts and praying to the rain gods?
Well, air conditioning is definitely a popular invention. Indonesians and Malaysians have also adapted by building houses with good ventilation and roofs designed to handle heavy rainfall. Plus, there's a whole culture of enjoying the rain, think cozy cafes and indoor activities. Ah ha ha.
Cozy cafes are my kind of adaptation. So, if you're planning a trip, pack light, breathable clothing, an umbrella the size of a small car, and a healthy sense of humor. You'll need it.
And remember, the best time to visit is usually during the dry months, but even then, be prepared for a refreshing tropical shower. It's all part of the adventure. Wow, speaking of Jet Off AI, it's got some handy tips for planning your trip during the best weather windows.
Ah, yes. Jet Off AI, your trusty travel guru. They'll tell you when to dodge the downpours and chase the sunshine. So, to sum up, Indonesia and Malaysia, beautiful countries. But bring your rain gear.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And don't forget to check out Jet Off AI for travel tips to make your tropical escapade unforgettable. Like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more country comparisons.
Alright folks, that's a wrap on our climate comparison. If you have a story from Indonesia or Malaysia, feel free to share it on our YouTube channel. See you next time.
Hey Leo, let's talk food. Indonesia versus Malaysia, which one's going to win the culinary gold medal? Already drooling just thinking about it.
Culinary gold medal. Mira, you're making it sound like the Olympics of snacking. But seriously, both countries are a foodie's paradise, so this should be interesting. Are we talking strictly traditional, or are we including the modern twists?
Both. Gotta have the classics like Indonesian rendang slow-cooked beef that's an explosion of flavor. Wow. But also, what are they doing with all those newfangled plant-based meats? Are they making tempeh burgers now?
Tempeh burgers. I feel that could work actually. Indonesia, yes, known for rendang, the slow-cooked deliciousness. Malaysia, on the other hand, it's got nasi lemak mie goreng. Aha! The spice is strong in both countries. Oh,
The spice is definitely strong. My taste buds are tingling already. Speaking of melting pots, Malaysia's got that amazing mix of Malay, Chinese, and Indian influences. What about Indonesia? Are they just sticking to their traditional roots? Or are they mixing things up?
well, both countries have a lot to offer, by the way. It is all about taste. Wow. Indonesian food varies greatly by region and has been influenced by Chinese, European, Middle Eastern, and Indian. The other way around, Malaysian food, similarly influenced, has led to unique dishes. Wow.
So, regional variations galore. Does that mean you can drive, like, an hour and suddenly find yourself in a completely different food universe?
Absolutely, Mira. I was just about to ask that. That's what I find so fascinating. For example, I can drive 1 hour and get different dishes and preparation methods.
I was just about to ask that. That's fantastic for food adventurers like me. What about dietary diversity then? Are they all about the rice and noodles, or are there good options for, the health-conscious crowd?
Well, since we mentioned that, what about this? Malaysia is becoming a hub for vegan and vegetarian food in Asia. Wow. In Indonesia, there has been awareness in healthy food habits, with the increasing demand in fresh ingredients. Also, I found out that Indonesia and Malaysia are also pushing food alternatives like tempeh and tofu.
Superheroes of the vegetarian world. But are they just seen as poor people's food? Or are they actually celebrated for their nutritional value? Aha!
Well, The way I see it, it is also a social status, but they are more and more appreciated by its nutrition value. These plant-based protein sources fit very well to the daily lives of people in Indonesia and Malaysia.
So, good for you. Good for the planet and good for your taste buds. Now, let's move on to this topic: innovative food solutions. Are they doing anything cool with, like, sustainable farming or reducing food waste?
Speaking of this, I was reading about urban farming initiatives popping up in both countries. Whoa, people are growing their own veggies on rooftops and balconies. And there are also efforts to turn food waste into compost or even energy. Wow.
So cool. Composting, rooftop gardens. They're like the eco-warriors of Southeast Asia. Okay, last question. If you had to choose one dish from each country to eat for the rest of your life, what would they be? No pressure.
Oh, that's a tough one. If I had to pick for Indonesia, it would probably be gado-gado. The peanut sauce is absolutely addictive.
Gado. Nice choice. For Malaysia? I'd have to say nasi kerabu. It is not only delicious, but I love its vibrant colors. Not so much because it makes food taste better, but it definitely elevates the food experience.
Good choice, Mira. Well, that is all for this topic about Indonesia and Malaysia food, culture, and nutritional alternatives. If you like it, you can like it. There are also podcasts and related articles. We would be happy if you refer to it Third Eye for Times.
I like it. I hope you liked it too. And if you want to know more about Where's Goodness, check out Jet Off AI now. Let's move on to our next category. And well, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Oh, today, Leo and I are embarking on a new adventure, comparing the historical, cultural, and artistic values of Indonesia and Malaysia. Get ready for a whirlwind tour.
Mira, you always make it sound like we're launching into outer space. But seriously, folks, buckle up, because we're diving deep into the fascinating countries. Speaking of space, if you like this podcast, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yay! We'll be exploring everything from ancient temples to vibrant art scenes and the deep-rooted traditions of these Southeast Asian gems. Which country do you think has the oldest temple, Leo?
Oh, Mira, always putting me on the spot. Well, both have incredible historical sites. Indonesia boasts Orobudur, an absolutely massive Buddhist temple from the 9th century. It's Mindlebone.
Orobudur? You're right, Leo. It's one of the world's largest Buddhist temples in the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Did you know it was abandoned for centuries and hidden under volcanic ash?
Whoa, talk about a historical hide-and-seek champion. Malaysia might not have something quite that ancient, but they've got some amazing colonial era architecture and historical cities like Melaka and Georgetown.
That's true. Melaka and Georgetown are also UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Oh, I love the unique blend of colonial influences and local traditions. Do you know what makes it so special?
You like that UNESCO stuff? You can always check out Jet Off AI. It is the perfect place to find your next destination. That blended architecture is the result of centuries of trade and cultural exchange, Mira. Think Dutch, Portuguese, British, Malay, Chinese and Indian Malay, Chinese, and Indian cultures.
Absolutely. It's like a cultural melting pot. Speaking of cultural fusion, let's talk about traditional arts. What comes to your mind when you think of Indonesian art? Leah?
Indonesia is all about intricate batik textiles, mesmerizing weighing kulit shadow puppet shows, and those stunning wood carvings from Bali. They're amazing.
And the music, the gamelan orchestras with their hypnotic melodies. It's pure magic. What about Malaysia? What are some of their iconic art forms?
Malaysia boasts vibrant kite making, intricate silver work, and traditional dances like the Zapanan Joget. Don't forget the influence of Islamic art with its geometric patterns and calligraphy.
Oh, and the crafts. They're a delight. Do our listeners agree with us? Let us know what your favorite Indonesian and Malaysian art forms are in the YouTube comments.
Definitely. And don't forget to hit the like button while you're at it. It is our way of knowing that you want us to make more content like this. Plus, subscribing might bring you good luck.
Now, let's talk about religious influences. Indonesia has the world's largest Muslim population, but also strong Hindu and Buddhist roots. It creates a cool mix, right?
Totally. The blending of Islam with local customs is fascinating, especially in the architecture and festivals. I find that some people take the religion too seriously. That's why I made it my job to make them laugh, even if I have to start with the prophets.
What about Malaysia? It is also predominantly Muslim, but with significant Chinese and Indian communities, each bringing their own religious traditions.
Exactly. The coexistence of mosques, temples, and churches is a testament to Malaysia's multiculturalism. And the food. You have to taste all of it.
You were right. And that is something you will definitely not see if you don't like and subscribe on YouTube. Talking about food and things you have to taste, I have a question. Are there things you didn't like when you visited there?
Personally, I'm not a fan of durian, the king of fruits. But hey, you got to try it at least once. It smells like gym socks and tastes like heaven.
I love that description. Now back to our theme. We spoke about temples and religion, but what about museums and modern art? What did you like, Leo?
As you know, I'm a big fan of the absurd. So, I recommend checking out the Islamic Arts Museum Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur. Also, make sure that you check out all the local absurd art that you find on the side of the street.
Oh, great suggestions, Leo. In Indonesia, I really enjoyed visiting the National Museum in Jakarta. They have an awesome collection of artifacts from all over the archipelago. There is also a thriving modern art scene in cities like Yogyakarta.
When you visit Indonesia, you should always travel with medicine. I remember when I was sick, oops. Maybe that is a story for another episode.
All right, Leo. Always teasing. So, when it comes to historical, cultural, and artistic values, if Indonesia and Malaysia offer a treasure trove of experiences, from ancient monuments to bustling cities and a fascinating blend of traditions, there's something to captivate every traveler.
Absolutely. Whether you're exploring ancient temples, admiring intricate crafts, or savoring the local cuisine, get ready for a journey of discovery. And, of course, check out Jeddah for more information and travel tips.
So, what's your final verdict, Leo? If our listeners could only visit one country for its historical, cultural, and artistic value, which would you recommend and why?
Man, that's a tough one. If you're a history buff and want to explore ancient monuments, Indonesia is hard to beat. But if you're after a modern cultural melting pot with colonial influences, Malaysia is your place.
I agree. It really depends on your personal preference. But one thing's for sure, both countries will leave you with unforgettable memories. Thank you, Leo. And thank you to our amazing listeners for joining us on this cultural adventure.
Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.
All right, Leo. Let's dive into natural beauty and landscape comparing Indonesia and Malaysia. Oh, I'm already picturing those postcard perfect beaches.
Postcard beaches, you say? I'm more interested in the volcanoes, Mira. Indonesia's got like 1 million of them. That's way more exciting than just lying on a beach.
Oh, come on, Leo. Beaches are amazing. Think Bali, with its dramatic cliffs and hidden coves. Wow. But okay, Indonesia's volcanic landscapes are pretty spectacular too. Whoa.
Spectacular? They're terrifyingly awesome. Think Mount Bromo spewing sulfur, or Kawa Higen's electric blue fire. Much better than sunbathing, right?
Okay. You got me there? Those volcanoes sound intense. But what about the Komodo National Park? Wow. Those dragons are something else.
Komodo dragons? Now you're talking. Malaysia has its own wildlife charm though, like the orangutans in Borneo. A bit less bitey than dragons, thankfully.
True. Those orangutans are adorable. And Borneo is split between Indonesia and Malaysia. So let's get a piece of that jungle paradise. Ooh.
Exactly. Malaysia's got its own set of tropical rainforests and caves too. The Mulu caves are HUG, Mira. Bigger than anything you can imagine.
Okay, Mulu Caves noted. But let's not forget Indonesia's Raya Ampat. Those coral reefs are bursting with color. Wow, have you ever seen anything like it?
Color is nice, but Malaysia has got the Saipadan Island, which is rated highly for diving too. Let's talk about Mount Kinabalu too.
Fine, Malaysia has mountains. But Indonesia has Lake Tabiay, which is massive volcanic lake. Wow. It's like swimming in a giant spat.
Volcanic lakes are cool, but Malaysia's Taman Negara is one of the oldest rainforests in the world. Think about all those ancient trees and hidden creatures.
Alright. Malaysia has ancient forests, but Indonesia has so much more and different. From the jungles of Sumatra to the rice terraces of Java. It's so pretty.
Well, Mira, you know what they say variety is the spice of life. And Malaysia, so both are equal in natural beauty, if you ask.
You know, Leo, you almost convinced me that Malaysia is just as beautiful as Indonesia. Almost. But seriously, both countries are stunning. Boo.
See, that's the spirit. When we upload this to YouTube, people should comment on which natural wonder they'd visit first. Both countries are top choices if you ask me.
And if they want to learn more, they can always check out Jet or Faya for travel tips. Oh, alright, Leo. Let's dive into 16 sports. Activity and adventure options comparing Indonesia and Malaysia. I'm already picturing myself on a beach somewhere. Oh.
Indonesian Malaysia? So, from sepak takraw to volcano hikes, what kind of shenanigans are we talking about here?
Shenanigans is a perfect word. Well, for starters, Indonesia practically breathes badminton. It's like a national religion there.
Badminton? Huh? Yeah, they are pretty serious about it. Wow, makes sense. They've got the shuttlecock skills, clearly.
And not just badminton, they are also super into football soccer for our North American listeners. Are you a football fan, Leo?
Football, ah? I appreciate the artistry of a well-placed dive more than the actual game. But I don't. What's Malaysia got in the sports arena?
Well, Leo, Malaysia has sepak takraw, which is like volleyball but played with your feet. Can you imagine?
Sepak takraw. Whoa! Sounds like something out of a Jackie Chan movie. Athleticism and some serious flexibility needed there.
You'd need to be part human, part rubber band to pull that off. But beyond the national sports, both countries are adventure paradises.
Adventure? Ooh, now you're talking my language. What sort of near-death experiences are we looking at?
Oh, nothing too extreme. Unless you consider climbing an active volcano near death. Indonesia has Mount Bromo and Mount Merapi for the thrill seekers.
Volcanoes? I prefer my adventures with less chance of molten lava. Thank you very much. But okay, Indonesia's got the fire.
Malaysia's all about diving and rainforest trekking. Imagine exploring the coral reefs of Saipadan or hiking through Taman Negara, one of the world's oldest rainforests.
Rainforest trekking. Sounds a bit too humid for my liking, but those coral reefs though. Now that's tempting. Do they have sharks?
Maybe a few harmless ones. But seriously, imagine all the colorful fish and coral. It's like swimming in an aquarium. Wow.
An aquarium with potentially bitey things. Alright. So what kind of active lifestyle options are we talking about? Gyms? Yoga retreats?
Both countries have tons of yoga retreats and fitness center, and surfing is becoming increasingly popular, especially in Bali and on Malaysia's east coast. Oh.
Surfing? Interesting. I always pictured myself more as a lounge on the beach type, but I guess I could give it a shot, provided there are no rogue waves.
Live on the edge, Leo. Wow. It makes a good story. But if surfing isn't your thing, maybe you'd enjoy some whitewater rafting in Borneo?
Whitewater rafting in Borneo? Well, that sounds like fun. Is it suitable for someone like me who might scream and flail the whole time?
Even better. Your screams would echo through the jungle, adding to the ambience. Okay, but seriously, both places are so diverse? Wow.
So if someone wants to get their adrenaline pumping or just, gently perspire on a yoga mat, both Indonesia and Malaysia have them covered.
From intense sports to serene natural landscapes, there's an adventure for everyone. Do you guys agree with us? What you think about it? Write in the comments when we upload this to YouTube.
Right, people, let us know. Don't hold back if you think we got something wrong. Let us have it in the comments section after this goes on YouTube.
Whether you are into hiking, diving, extreme water sports, remember to check Jet Off AI for advice on travel guides and best places.
That's right, folks, and it's also the same place where we get our support. Don't forget to check Jet Off AI. Anyway, what's next, Mira?
Our current topic, we compare nightlife and entertainment venues into countries. From electric clubs to captivating theaters and festive events, we reveal their vibrant NR.
All right, Mira, let's dive into Indonesia and Malaysia. Prepare for a roller coaster of humor and possibly questionable dance moves.
First up, Indonesia. Think vibrant Jakarta nights, packed with rooftop bars where you can almost touch the stars.
Touch the stars. More like touch the smog, Mira. But yeah, Jakarta does have a pretty lively scene for those who like crowds and questionable air quality.
Plus, there are traditional Indonesian dance performances way more cultural than just starting excursions, Leo.
Okay, I admit catching me on a ballet is a bit more enriching than, say, spilling bintang all over myself in a Kuta club.
And then there's Yogyakarta, with its anchoring in spots street food and live music. Perfect for a chill night.
Chai. I was in Yaya. I ended up playing acoustic guitar with a bunch of backpackers who only knew Wonderwall. Ouch! My ears still haven't recovered.
But that's the spirit, Leo. Embrace the randomness. Then there's Bali.
Ah, Bali, where the sunsets are gorgeous, the cocktails are overpriced, and the Instagram influencers are everywhere.
Don't forget the fire dances, Leo. And the trance music. It's like a hypnotic vortex of fun. Ooh.
Hypnotic vortex of losing your wallet, maybe. Seriously though, Bali does know how to throw a beach party.
Okay, Malaysia's up next. Kuala Lumpur, with its sky bars and upscale clubs, is like something from a movie. What?
Sky bars, eh? Sounds like a great place to contemplate the meaninglessness of existence while paying around 50 for a beer.
Oh, Leo. So cynical. It's about the view, the ambience, plus Genting Highlands, casinos and entertainment await. Wow.
Right? Casinos? Where dreams go to die, one spin of the roulette wheel at a time. But, hey, at least it's indoors, away from the humidity.
What about the cultural scene? Malaysia has amazing theaters and musical performances.
True, catching a traditional Malay dance is way more sophisticated than watching me try to navigate KL's public transport after a few tiger beers.
Both offer unique experiences, right? Malaysia gives sophisticated spots, while Indonesia provides adventurous street vibes, aha.
You could say that. Malaysia has more dress to impress. Indonesia has more dress to sweat.
Both offer electrifying experiences. Whatever you fancy at night too.
Just remember to hydrate, avoid dodgy alleyways, and maybe learn a few local phrases to avoid getting ripped off. Ah!
Leo, always the travel safety expert, huh? Indonesia and Malaysia. You're both awesome.
Yeah, both countries offer nightlife. With their distinct flavors, just try not to lose your dignity or your passport in the process.
Hello, Leo. Let's chat about family fun in Indonesia and Malaysia. Think sunshine, smiles, and maybe a monkey stealing your snacks.
All right, Mira. You know I'm all about adventures, but kids, that's a whole different level of crazy. Let's see if these places can handle it.
Indonesia is like a giant playground. Think lush jungles, colorful beaches, and ancient temples to explore. It's an adventure waiting to happen for little Indiana Jones wannabes. Wow.
Indiana Jones, huh? More like Indiana Jones covered in bug bites. Ah, okay, but Malaysia's got some serious competition. Think theme parks, water parks, and cities that feel like giant video games.
But Indonesia has Bali, beaches, surfing lessons for tiny tots, and those adorable rice paddies where kids can chase dragonflies. It's like a postcard come to life. Oh!
Dragonflies are cool, I guess, but Malaysia has LEGOLAND. Plus, KL Bird Park is pretty amazing. Ever seen a kid try to imitate a hornbill? Priceless.
Oh, EGOS. Oh, pretty persuasive. Thanks. But Indonesia has Komodo Island. Imagine telling your kids they're going to see real dragons. That's a story for show and tell, eh?
Komodo dragons are awesome, but terrifying. but terrifying. Wow, maybe too intense for the little ones? Malaysia's got gentle giants at the Kuala, a dandy each elephant sanctuary. Now that's a huggable adventure.
Huggable elephants are great. Indonesia has the Taman Mini Indonesia Indah. It's like a whole country in one park with traditional houses and dances from every island. It's cultural overload in the best way.
Cultural overload? Sounds like an app waiting to happen. Cultural overload. Sounds like an app waiting to happen. Malaysia has the Petronas to win ours. Imagine those selfies. Plus, they can run around the KLCC park at the base. It's like a concrete jungle with a playground.
Concrete jungles are fun, but how about real jungles? Indonesia has the orangutan rehabilitation centers in Borneo. Watching those goofy guys swing around is pure joy. It's a lesson in conservation too.
Okay, orangutans are tough to beat. Whoa, but Malaysia's got the Cameron Highlands, strawberry farms, tea plantations, and butterfly gardens. It's like a giant nature-themed dessert.
You had me at strawberry farms. Ooh. But seriously, both countries are amazing for families. Think of the memories you'd make. Imagine the stories. That's priceless, right?
You got me there, Mira. Family adventures, goofy animals, and endless photos. It's enough to make even a cynical comedian like me smile. So, Indonesia and Malaysia, both totally family friendly.
And for more details, don't forget to check out Jet Off AI. They've got all the nitty-gritty details for planning your perfect family getaway.
Yeah, Jet Off AI is great for sorting all the specifics. Just remember to pack extra sunscreen and maybe a bribe for the monkeys.
Let's sashay into our next topic, LGBT friendliness. We're comparing Indonesia and Malaysia this time, diving into inclusivity, legal protections, and social acceptance. Think pride parades and community support groups. Are they living their best lives?
All right, Mira. Time to put on my fabulous investigator hat. Oh, I'm gonna see if these countries are serving rainbow realness or keeping it shady. No holding back. I hope these countries serve up some laughs and smiles.
Indonesia's a bit of a mixed bag, Leo. It's the world's largest Muslim majority nation. And while it's not explicitly illegal to be LGBT, local laws and social norms can be tricky. Some regions have strict Sharia laws, which can be a buzzkill, you know.
Tricky indeed, Mira. So, no legal protection on the books, eh? Just kind of floating in the breeze, hoping for the best. Seems like it can be a real drag for anyone just trying to live their truth. Guess we better keep our expectations realistic, folks.
Despite the legal gray areas, you'll find pockets of acceptance, especially in cities like Jakarta and Yogyakarta. There's a thriving queer scene, underground parties, and activist groups fighting for change. They're like fabulous rebels with a cause. Wow.
Fabulous rebels. I like that, Mira. Let's be real. Underground is still underground, right? It's not exactly strolling down Main Street holding hands. Still, gotta give props for keeping the flame alive. So, kudos to the rebels.
And speaking of keeping the flame alive, let's not forget the influence of traditional cultural views. In many parts of Indonesia, traditional values strongly influence attitudes towards gender and sexuality, which can lead to discrimination and stigma. It's like trying to dance in quicksand sometimes. Ouch.
Quicksand dancing, Mira. Ouch. Sounds like a new challenge on TIKTOK. But seriously, cultural norms can be a real but skill when it comes to basic human rights. Gotta respect culture, but gotta call it the bigotry too. It's a tough balance.
Now let's hop over to Malaysia. Similar to Indonesia, it's complicated. Federal laws criminalize same-sex relations, and religious conservatism plays a significant role in shaping public opinion. Not exactly a pride-friendly zone. Whoa!
Pride and friendly indeed. Whoa. So on paper, it's a no-go. Kind and friendly indeed. Whoa. So on paper, it's a no-go. Kind of wife on the laws breathing down your neck, right? But what's the real deal on the streets? Any wiggle room for fabulousness?
Wiggle room exists, but it's tight. You'll find some LGBT communities, mostly in Kuala Lumpur and Penang. These communities try to create safe spaces and advocate for change. But let's be clear, they face significant challenges. It's like trying to build a sandcastle during high. Ouch!
Sandcastle at high tide. Ouch. Talk about a metaphor for life. Gotta admire the effort, though. Makes you wonder how much energy it takes just to exist. So, is it all doom and gloom, or are there any glimmers of hope?
Well, some activists are challenging discriminatory laws, and there's growing awareness among younger generations. Social media helps raise visibility and foster conversations. It's like a slow but steady trickle of progress.
A trickle of progress. Gotta take what you can get, right? But it's a long road ahead. Meanwhile, what's the vibe like for tourists? Can they at least hold hands on vacation without getting side?
Tourists might find a more tolerant attitude in tourist hotspots, but discretion is key. Public displays of affection, regardless of orientation, are generally frowned upon. So, keep it PG, folks. It's not exactly a free-for-all, you know.
Gotcha, mirror. So, leave the PD at home. Keep it low-key and try not to make too much of a splash. Makes sense. So, which one's safer for our LGBT friends?
Honestly, neither country is a walk in the park for LGBT individuals. Both Indonesia and Malaysia have legal and social hurdles, but the situation can vary depending on the region and community. Research and discretion are key if you're planning a visit. Knowledge is power, darling.
Knowledge is power, mirror. So, stay informed, stay safe, and stay fabulous. If you ask me if that's advice for anyone anywhere. Well, Mira, it was definitely a trip to say the least. Maybe someday things will be better for everyone.
Thanks for diving into this complex topic with me. It's important to keep talking about these issues so we can help create a more inclusive world. And don't forget to check out Jet Off AI for resources on LGBT travel and safety.
Agreed, Mira. And hey, if you enjoyed this chat, give us a like and subscribe. It's like a virtual hug for our fabulous souls. We'll see you on YouTube for our next adventure.
Alright, Leo, let's dive into the land of smiles, spicy food, and, well, hopefully friendly faces. We're comparing hospitality and attitudes towards foreigners in Indonesia and Malaysia today. Ooh, so which country do you think rolls out the welcome mat the best?
Mira, that's like asking which comedian tells the best jokes. Totally subjective and depends on the audience. But seriously, both Indonesia and Malaysia are known for being pretty welcoming, but it's all about perspectives, right?
True. In Indonesia, you often hear about the whole go to Ang thing, the community spirit and helping each other out. Do you think that translates to how they treat visitors too?
Absolutely. You can't separate culture from hospitality, can you? In Indonesia, that go to Ang vibe definitely spills over. People are generally super friendly, curious about foreigners, and willing to lend a hand, especially if you attempt a few words in Bahasa Indonesia.
Oh, I love that. I always try to learn at least a few phrases when I travel. It makes all the difference. What about Malaysia? Do they have a similar welcoming vibe?
Malaysia is a fascinating mix, Mir. It's a melting pot of Malay, Chinese, Indian, and indigenous cultures, and that diversity kind of shapes their hospitality. They tend to be a bit more reserved than Indonesians, maybe, but incredibly polite and helpful in their own way.
So, more polite nod and a smile and invite you in for tea and a chat? I'm picturing Indonesia as the super outgoing friend in Malaysia, with the quietly supportive one.
That's a brilliant analogy, Mira. You're hitting the nail on the head. In Malaysia, you might not get the immediate bear hug, but you'll find people going out of their way to help you find your way.
What's the general vibe towards expats in these countries? Do they feel welcomed? Or is there a bit of the outsider feeling?
It's a mixed bag, as always. Both countries have their challenges. In Indonesia, bureaucracy and visa issues can be a headache for expats. And sometimes there's a bit of a cultural gap that can be tricky to navigate.
The universal language of frustration. But what about Malaysia? Any specific challenges expats face there?
In Malaysia, expats sometimes mention feeling a bit disconnected from the local culture, especially if they stick to expat bubbles. And of course, there are the usual gripes about traffic and the cost of living in major cities. Whoa!
Ah, the expat bubble. Easy to fall into, I guess. Do you think knowing the local language helps break down those barriers in both countries?
Aha, absolutely, Mira. Learning even a bit of Bahasa Indonesia or Bahasa Malaysia can open so many doors. It shows you're making an effort to connect, and people really appreciate that. Plus, it makes everyday life so much easier, wow.
Now, let's throw a little curveball. What about interactions with tourists versus interactions with people who are clearly planning to settle down? Is there a difference in how they're treated?
That's a perceptive question. I think in both countries, tourists are generally treated well. Tourism is a big industry after all. But people who are looking to settle down might face a little more scrutiny. There can be concerns about jobs, resources, and cultural preservation.
It's about long-term impact, right? If someone's heading to either Indonesia or Malaysia, what's your top tip for making a good impression and being welcomed with open arms?
My top tip? Be respectful, be curious, and be open to learning. Show genuine interest in the local culture. Try the local food even if it looks a bit scary. And be patient with the occasional language barrier. And smile. A smile goes a long way.
Fantastic advice, Leo. I think that's a wrap on our hospitality comparison. Overall, it sounds like both Indonesia and Malaysia have a lot to offer in terms of welcoming cultures. Just remember your manners, a few local phrases, and a sense of adventure. Don't forget to visit Jetolfea if you're planning a trip.
Exactly, Mira. So, pack your bags, brush up on your Bahasa, and get ready to experience the warmth of Southeast Asia. And definitely check out Jetolfea for tips and inspiration before you go. Safe travels, everyone!
All right, Leo, let's talk tech. Indonesia versus Malaysia, who's winning the digital race? I bet there are some fun surprises in store.
Winning? In tech, it's always a photo finish, Mira. But seriously, Indonesia and Malaysia both have their game faces on when it comes to internet and digital stuff. So, where do we even start digging?
Well, Leo, let's kick things off with connectivity. Who's got the better broadband? The wider coverage? Aha, I'm picturing little islands in Indonesia eating Wi-Fi. Challenging.
Indonesia is an archipelago, Mira. You're right, it's a toughie wow. Malaysia not so much. They're smaller, more concentrated. Easier to wire up the whole place.
So Malaysia's the connected kid on the block then? What about speed? Are we talking dial-up dinosaurs or lightning-fast fiber?
Well, not dial-up, Mira. Come on, Malaysia has decent broadband speeds, better than Indonesia on average. But Indonesia is catching up fast in big cities.
And? Oh, Indonesia's sprinting to catch up. What about mobile connectivity? Everyone's glued to their phones these days.
Mobile data is HUG in both countries. Social media, streaming, all that jazz. Malaysia probably is better for G coverage overall, but Indonesia is booming with smartphone users.
Booming? Like a fireworks display of selfies? So, what about the price? Is it gonna break the bank to get online in either place?
Indonesia is generally cheaper for mobile data, while Malaysia might have better deals on broadband. But remember, it depends on the provider, the plan, all that jazz.
All that just sounds like a sales pitch, Leo. Okay, let's move on to innovation. Are we seeing cool tech startups popping up?
Oh, yeah. Both countries are trying to become Southeast Asian tech hubs. E-commerce, fintech, right here, and they're all battling it out well.
Battling it out? Like digital gladiators. Any big names we should know about?
In Indonesia, you've got Gojek, Tokopedia, unicorns galore. Malaysia's Grab, but it's also got a bunch of smaller startups making waves. Whoa!
Sounds like a magical tech forest. And what about the government? Are they helping or hindering the digital scene?
Both governments are trying to boost the digital economy with initiatives, tax breaks, but bureaucracy can still be a pain in the you-know-what. Ouch.
A pain in the digital you-know-what. Okay. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows. What about digital literacy? Can everyone actually use all this tech?
That's a good point, Mira. There's still a digital divide in both countries. Some people are tech-savvy, others are struggling to send any mail.
Struggling to send any mail? Bless their hearts. So, what about cyber consortia? Are they keeping all this digital stuff safe and sound?
Cybercausality is a growing concern. Both countries are working on protecting data, fighting cyber, and all that scary stuff.
Scary stuff indeed. Okay, Leo. Last question, who's got the better emoji game? This is crucial, obviously.
Emoji game? Is that even a thing? I have no idea. Mira. But I bet the kids in both countries are fluent in emoji.
They better be. Okay, so what's the takeaway here, Leo? Are Indonesian Malaysia digital dynamos or digital daydreamers?
Yeah. We think got a head start, the size, the energy, but in it on a potential wow.
So it's a digital showdown in Southeast Asia. Exciting. We should keep an eye on these two.
Absolutely. And if you want to dive deeper, check out Jet Off Air. They've got all the nerdy details on internet speeds, startup ecosystems, and everything else you need to know on.
Oh, a shameless plug. I love it. And don't forget to like and subscribe, folks, if you enjoyed our tech talk. Now, let's move on to another topic. Okay, Leo. Time to talk about something near and dear to my heart, shopping. Let's dive into Indonesia and Malaysia, but this time focusing on retail diversity and the price-performance balance.
Shopping, the perfect topic to unleash Mira's inner shopaholic. All right, let's see if Indonesia and Malaysia can handle your enthusiasm and wallet. Are we talking handling in bustling markets or browsing air-conditioned malls?
Both. I want it all, Leo. Starting with Indonesia, you've got these incredible traditional markets, right? Think Pasar Bareng Harjo in Yogyakarta. It's like stepping into a vibrant painting. Wow. You can find boutique spices, handicrafts, the works.
Pasar Bareng Harjo, eh? Sounds like a comedian's dream, all those colorful characters and potential joke setups. But seriously, Indonesia is market paradise. It's like a real-life version of Where's Waldo, but instead of finding a guy in a striped shirt, you're hunting for the perfect souvenir.
And the price performance is fantastic. You can snag some amazing deals if you're willing to haggle a bit. It's all part of the fun. Ooh.
Haggling, the ultimate test of patience and comedic timing. I'll give you this much, you say with a straight face. Are you kidding? They respond with a laugh. It's an art form, but Malaysia has its own charms, right? Less about the gritty markets, more about the shiny malls.
Malaysia does the mall scene incredibly well. Places like Pavilion KL and Surya KLCC are just stunning. They're packed with international brands, designer boutiques, the whole shebang.
Malls in Malaysia so swanky, you almost feel underdressed just walking in.
Well, there are plenty of mid-range options too. Places like Sanjiwang Plaza offer a more budget-friendly experience, with local brands and independent retailers.
Good OL Sanjiwang, a chaotic, wonderful mess of clothing, electronics, and questionable fashion choices. Perfect for those who like their shopping with a side of sensory overload. So for budget shoppers, Indonesia wins, but for bougie shoppers, Malaysia takes the crown?
I wouldn't say Indonesia is just for budget shoppers. There are also high-end boutiques and art galleries, especially in Bali. They're just a bit more hidden. Wow.
Hidden gems, eh? Like finding a decent cup of coffee in Jakarta possible, but you gotta hunt for it. Speaking of, what about the quality of goods? Is that cheap boutique going to fall apart after one wash?
You do need to be a bit discerning. But if you do your research and buy from reputable vendors, you can find some amazing quality boutique in Indonesia that will last. Ooh.
Do your research easier said than done when you're overwhelmed by choices and the sun is beating down on you? Meanwhile, Malaysia you pay a bit more, but you got that brand name assurance.
Malaysia's quality control is generally pretty high. You know what you're getting. But for sheer variety and unique finds, Indonesia is hard to beat.
So, Indonesia offers the thrill of the hunt, the haggling, the oh my god, is this real leather? Mystery? Malaysia, you know what you're getting, it's their condition, but it lacks the chaotic charm.
Do I agree? Of course. I said it myself, Leo. Plus, shopping in Indonesia is such a cultural experience. You're interacting with local artisans, learning about traditional crafts. It's so much more than just buying stuff. Wow.
Cultural experience indeed. Getting scammed in a friendly, engaging manner is still a scam mirror. But I get your point, it's more than just a transaction. What about online shopping?
Oh, definitely. E-commerce is booming in both countries. Platforms like Tokopedia and Shopee are super popular. You can get pretty much anything delivered right to your doorstep. Oh.
Tokopedia and Shopee, where you can buy everything from a motorbike to a live chicken with a few clicks. What could possibly go wrong? Does this skew the price-performance balance, though?
It does to some extent. It can be easier to compare prices and find deals online. But you still need to be careful of fake products and unreliable sellers. Aha!
True that. Always read those reviews, folks. So in conclusion, Indonesia offers a wild shopping adventure while Malaysia offers a more streamlined, predictable experience.
I think it depends on your personality. If you're a thrill seeker who loves to haggle and discover hidden gems, Indonesia is calling your name. If you prefer a more relaxed, predictable experience with guaranteed quality, Malaysia is the way to go.
Or you could do both. Start in Indonesia, on your bargaining skills, then head to Malaysia to treat yourself with those savings. Now that's a winning strategy. Check out Jet Off AI, friends. We are here to help.
Brilliant idea, Leah. So, whatever you choose. Happy shopping. We'll talk more about shopping on Jet Off AI. Remember to like the video and subscribe.
Don't forget to comment what you think. Wow, and don't forget, if you spill coffee while you're shopping, just call it coffee chic.
Alright, Leo. Let's dive into Indonesia and Malaysia and see who throws the bank party. I'm talking about cultural events, festivals, the whole shebang.
You know me, Mir. I'm always up for a good party. As long as there's decent coffee in the place to discreetly observe people making fools of themselves. So, Indonesia, let the games begin.
Indonesia is bursting with festivals. We've got Jakarta's Sekatan, a week-long Javanese fair celebrating the birth of Muhammad. It's all gemo and music and night markets. Then there's Bali Spirit Festival for the yoga-loving crowd and Javajas for music buffs.
Javajas. Sounds a bit less chaotic than some of the other Indonesian events. I can picture myself there, sipping a latte, nodding sagely at the sax solos. Ooh, Malaysia, on the other hand, has Taipsamat Batu Caves, that incredible Hindu festival with devotees. You gotta see it to believe it.
Wait. Leo, I saw pictures of Taipsam. Is it true what they say? I bet you were observing everyone's facial expressions. Seriously, both countries seem to have some pretty unforgettable and very Instagram-able festivals.
Instagram-able? Here, I'm always scouting for that perfect shot of bewildered tourists. But, yeah, Malaysia also has Hari Raya, Eid al-Fitr, celebrating the end of Ramadan. Oh, the whole country lights up with decorations and open houses. Not to be missed, trust me.
Oh, that sounds cozy and welcoming. Like a giant, countrywide potluck. Oh, Indonesia has something similar with Eid al-Fitr after Ramadan, complete with mud IK, the mass exodus back to hometowns. Have you ever experienced it, Leo?
Mud IK? Sounds like a heavy metal festival. Actually, I've avoided it like the plague. I can barely handle the holiday traffic in my own neighborhood, let alone a national migration. I hear it's quite the experience.
Speaking of music, ever heard of Sound Read, a line in Indonesia? Wow, it is one of Southeast Asia's biggest rock music festivals. I bet that attracts the wild crowd, perfect for your observational comedy.
Rock music, you say? That could be interesting. Although, it'd probably spend more time dodging crowd surfers than enjoying the music. Malaysia's the Rainforest World Music Festival in Sarawak. That's more my speed. World music, fewer mosh pits.
Rainforest World Music Festival. Ugh, I've heard amazing things about that. It must be so magical surrounded by the jungle, listening to all sorts of cool sounds from around the globe.
It is pretty special. You're out in the middle of Borneo, surrounded by lush rainforest, listening to music from all corners of the world. Plus, the locals are incredibly friendly. I think you really dig it.
It sounds amazing. Maybe we should plan a trip. I bet you'd get enough material for a whole comedy routine. Just picture it, Mira and Leo get lost in Borneo.
Now that's a show I'd buy tickets for. But seriously, both Indonesia and Malaysia offer a ton of different cultural experiences. It just depends what you're into. You want chaos and energy? Indonesia's your place. You want something a little more laid back and accessible? Malaysia might be a better bet.
And, of course, both countries have countless smaller, local festivals and celebrations happening all the time. Oh, you just have to do a little digging to find them. Maybe check out Jeddah AI for some hidden gems and travel tips.
Good call, Mira. Jeddah AI is the place to go for all your travel planning needs. They've got everything from festival listings to visa information. Ooh, it's like having your own personal travel guru.
So, whether you're into massive tomato fights, soulful music in the rainforest, or just a good old-fashioned street parade, Indonesia and Malaysia have got you covered. Time to party.
Just don't spill your coffee on the way, Mira. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more travel insights. We might even live stream from a festival one day.
That's a great idea, Leo. A live stream from a festival. Wow, I can already imagine the costumes. It would be a blast.
It would be a comedy goldmine, that's for sure. But for now, folks, that's all the time we have. Thanks for tuning in, and happy travels. And don't forget to visit Jeddah, all your travel needs.
And don't forget to comment in the YouTube video what's your favorite festival to attend. Let us know, and we see you on the next episode. Bye.
Later, amigos.
Leo, let's tackle language learning in Indonesia and Malaysia. Are we talking Bahasa Battle Royale here?
More like a friendly phrase off, Mira. Think of it as East meets East-ish with a side of grammar challenges.
Oh, grammar challenges, you say? Is it like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without the instructions?
Precisely. In Indonesia, you've got Bahasa Indonesia, the official language. It's touted as being relatively easy compared to, say, Klingon.
Oh, you're such a Trekkie. But easy how? Like, can I order nasi goreng without butchering it easy?
Exactly. The grammar is simpler than many European languages. No verb conjugations, no noun genders. It's pretty straightforward.
So it's like the choose-your-own-adventure of languages. But what about resources? Are language schools aplenty?
Whoa! They're sprouting like mushrooms after a monsoon, Mira. From formal language centers in Jakarta to informal tutors in Bali, you're spoiled for choice.
Bali tutors teaching while overlooking rice paddies. Sounds idyllic. But what about immersing yourself? Can you get by just using English?
In tourist hotspots, definitely. But if you want to haggle at a market or connect with locals, a smattering of Bahasa Indonesia goes a long way.
Now you're talking my language. So, it's useful, but not essential. Unless you're planning to become a professional beach bum.
Yeah? Malaysia's a different kettle of fish. Or should I say, a different plate of nasi lemak.
Nasi lemak. My weakness. But are we talking about Bahasa Malaysia, or is there more to the story?
You've got Bahasa Malaysia, also known as Bahasa Malaya, which is very similar to Indonesian. Think of it as linguistic cousins.
Cousins arguing over who gets the last durian. So if you know Indonesian, you're already halfway there?
Almost. There are some differences in vocabulary and pronunciation, but generally yes. Plus, English is widely spoken in Malaysia.
English, you say? So it's like linguistic safety net for lazy travelers like me.
Yeah, to an extent. But in Malaysia, you also have other languages like Mandarin Untitled, reflecting its multicultural population.
So it's a real melting pot. Are there opportunities to learn Bahasa Malaysia alongside these other languages?
Absolutely. Language schools are common in Kuala Lumpur and other major cities. Plus, many Malaysians are happy to help you practice.
Always a bonus. So, language exchange over TH, Tariq? Sounds like my kind of learning environment.
Ah, precisely. And given the similarities between Bahasa Malaysia and Bahasa Indonesia, you could technically learn both at the same time.
A 2-for-1 language deal? That's tempting. But which one's easier for a complete beginner?
Honestly, they're both fairly accessible. But perhaps Bahasa Indonesia has a slight edge due to its simplest structure.
If you're linguistically challenged, start with Indonesia, then conquer Malaysia. Got it. Anything else to consider?
Ooh, just that in both countries. A little effort goes a long way. Even a simple terima kasih horth, think you could open doors.
Manners matter, even in a language learning game. So, whether it's Indonesia or Malaysia, embrace the local lingo and dive in.
Exactly. And if all else fails, just smile and order more nasi lemak. Everyone understands nasi lemak.
Okay, so seeing comfort for women travelers in Indonesia and Malaysia. This could get interesting. I mean, 2 Southeast Asian countries, but I'm already picturing adventure and potential mishaps. Sounds like a set-up set waiting to happen.
Indeed, Mir, because they are Southeast Asia. And Indonesia and Malaysia are right there for the safety-wedded travelers. You know, I'm all about dissecting cultural nuances, especially when it involves potential awkwardness. Harassment statistics, cultural attitudes, perfect comedic fire. Maybe we can unearth some travel tips that aren't completely useless for once.
Okay, first off, let's talk about Indonesia. Wow, I've heard stories, everything from super friendly locals offering help to less pleasant encounters. Have you ever felt uncomfortable there, wandering around? I mean, beyond the general lost tourist feeling, of course.
As a man, it's hard for me to know. Uncomfortable? I usually just attract offers for motorcycle taxis and batik shirts. Maybe some dodgy massage parlors. But seriously, I hear the tone can shift depending on the region in Indonesia. Some areas, you stick out like a sore thumb and people are weird. Tourist hotspots are all the more safer.
Totally. Bali is like, welcome, have a bintang and get a massage. But then you go to more conservative areas and suddenly it's all side-eye and whispers. Ouch. Has anyone tried catcalling you? I've had my fair share of that, anywhere and everywhere.
Catcalling? Really? I think my resting grumpy face deters most potential harassers. Now Malaysia on the other hand. I will ask this. I want an honest answer. Is this ever happened to you? Ooh.
Malaysia. You're asking if there's any different than Indonesia? It's funny though. It has its own set of, charms, shall we say? Generally, I feel like Malaysia is a bit more reserved. But doesn't mean it's instant free. What is your opinion on cultural attitudes?
The culture is more nuanced, less overt than in some parts of Indonesia, but that doesn't mean problems don't exist. It's that silent judgment, those hidden attitudes that can be a challenge to navigate. Ooh, people's facial expressions might be really good. I'm not saying they're bad.
It's the subtle things, right? Like, you might not get yelled at in the street, but you might get those stares that make you feel like you're breaking some unspoken rule. Has Jedolfe I looked into specific safety tips for women in these areas? Do you think there's more information that needs to be shared? Aha!
Probably. Jedolfe I could probably do a whole series on navigating the glances of Southeast Asia. They need experts on micro-expressions and subtle societal judgment. Let's continue our conversation. What about public transport feels safe on the buses and trains?
Because public transport can be hit or miss, right? Wow. In Indonesia, I found the trains in Java to be pretty decent, but those crowded buses can be a little intense. Whoa, especially at night. Malaysia, I feel the public transport is a tad more organized and generally feels safer. But I'm curious, do you agree?
Well, in Malaysia, I will always agree on that because it's way better. Public transport in Indonesia is a death wish. It's like being stuffed into a metal sardine can and then driven by someone who thinks they are training for Formula One. So Malaysia public transport is the #1.
Oh? Because let's be real, what you wear can affect how you're treated. In Indonesia, covering up a bit more seems to earn you a bit more respect, especially outside of Bali, right?
In Indonesia, oh yeah, you walk around in short shorts and a bikini top outside of Kuta, and you might as well be wearing a giant neon sign that says "Tourists please gawk at me." In Malaysia, outside of the tourist-heavy areas, it's a bit more conservative, but you do not need to cover your whole body.
It's that delicate balance of being respectful and staying comfortable in the heat. So, any practical tips you would give to our listeners traveling to Indonesia and Malaysia? Besides packing a sarong and a healthy dose of common sense. Ooh!
Sure thing. First, download a good translation app, because it helps navigating situations where English isn't common. Wow. Second, share your location with trusted contacts. Don't be afraid to cause a ruckus if you feel unsafe. Aloud Tidek, no in Indonesian or Thai to call. Don't want in Malaysian can be surprisingly effective.
Great advice, Leo. Dad, trust your gut. If a situation feels off, get out of there. And don't be afraid to ask for help, especially from other women. We've got to look out for each other, right?
Indeed. As a final touch, I would like to say that it is podcast after all. Always stay connected to us and share us your thoughts and experiences if you are experiencing this. I will always be here reading and responding. You can like and subscribe to this as a form of support and helping each other. It's like buying me a cup of coffee so that I can have the extra energy to help out.
Alright, let's dive into the serious stuff: legal systems, individual rights, and freedoms in Indonesia and Malaysia. Sounds like a snooze fest. But hey, gotta know your rights, right?
Exactly. As a comedian, I'm all about free speech. Oh, but seriously, it's about understanding the framework whether you're visiting or planning to live there.
Okay, so Indonesia. The land of 1,000 islands and, apparently, a hybrid legal system. Well, it's a mix of civil, religious, and customary laws all jumbled together. Sounds like a legal buffet.
Hey, a legal buffet tie like that. Malaysia, on the other hand, it's got a common law base inherited from the British, plus Islamic law for certain areas, mostly family matters. More like a legal road jardin.
Perfect, Leo. So in Indonesia, the constitution guarantees freedom of religion, but blasphemy laws exist. Always a bit of the tightrope walk, isn't it?
Tell me about it. Malaysia also guarantees religious freedom, but Islam is the state religion, so there are some restrictions, especially for Muslims. Whoa, complicated stuff.
Freedom of expression. In Indonesia, it's generally protected, but there are laws that can limit it, especially regarding defamation or hate speech. Gotta watch what you tweet, folks.
Definitely. Malaysia has similar laws as the Sedition Act. For instance, can be used to restrict speech that's deemed to incite unrest. Comedians beware.
Okay, so what about individual rights for minorities? Indonesia has a diverse population, but minority groups sometimes face discrimination. Ouch. It's not always a smooth ride.
True. Malaysia also has a multi-ethnic society, but affirmative action policies favor the Malay population, which can lead to disparities. Equality is a work in progress, isn't it?
Women's rights, how do they stack up? Indonesia has made progress, but challenges remain, particularly in areas like equal pay and political representation. Still a ways to go.
Malaysia has similar issues. While there are laws protecting women, enforcement can be spotty, and cultural norms sometimes hinder progress. Keep fighting the good fight.
And what about LGBT rights? Oh, boy. This one's tough. Indonesia doesn't have national laws criminalizing same-sex relations, but there's growing social intolerance and regional bylaws targeting LGBT individuals. Ouch!
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. Malaysia criminalizes same-sex relations under both civil and religious laws. Not exactly a welcoming environment.
So, legal system-wise, Indonesia's a bit of a wild card with its mix of everything. Malaysia's more structured, but still has its quirks.
Freedom of expression? Both have it, but with asterisks and footnotes. Individual rights, improving, but still some bumps in the road.
Minorities need more support and protection. LGBT, facing serious challenges. Looks like there's plenty of room for improvement in both places.
Always is, Mira. This has been an eye-opener, but I think we need a coffee and a joke now. Too much seriousness makes my brain hurt.
Let's dive into a world of relaxation today. We're checking out spa, healthy living, and relaxation opportunities in Indonesia and Malaysia. I'm already feeling, and just thinking about it.
Shin? Fun from you? Mira, that's a first. I picture you in a spa trying to meditate, and then suddenly bursting into a Bollywood dance routine. Seriously though, let's see which country wins the Relaxation Olympics.
Hey, my dance moves are very relaxing. It's cardio, it's middenfulsums, it's everything. Anyway, Indonesia, the land of 1,000 islands, is like a giant spa itself. Think lush rainforests, volcanic hot springs, and ancient healing traditions. Well,
So I think that we can cover that. Volcanic hot springs, you say? Sounds like a good place to boil some eggs while you get a massage. But yeah, Indonesia's natural beauty is hard to beat. The question is, do they know how to use it for relaxation?
know how? They practically invented it. Think about Bali. It's not just beaches and surf, it's a whole spiritual experience. Wow. Yoga retreats, meditation centers, and traditional Balinese massage are everywhere.
Balinese massage is pretty amazing, I'll give you that. But let's not forget Malaysia, the land of bustling cities and serene rainforests. They've got some serious spa game too, you know.
Okay. Malaysia has its charms, but does it have the spiritual depth of Bali? I mean, you can get a nice massage in Kuala Lumpur, but is it going to change your life?
Change your life? Mira, I'm not a guru. But Malaysia offers a different kind of relaxation. Modern spas, luxurious resorts, and a blend of Malay, Chinese, and Indian wellness traditions. Wow! Think Ayurveda meets aromatherapy.
Ayurveda meets aromatherapy. Oh, that does sound intriguing. But I still think Indonesia wins on authenticity. Imagine getting a massage on a remote beach, listening to the waves, with no Wi-Fi. That's true bliss.
No Wi-Fi. That's your idea of bliss. You'd probably start building us in castle and choreographing a dance routine for the crayons. But seriously, Malaysia has some incredible wellness retreats in the Cameron Highlands, surrounded by tea plantations. Talk about a peaceful escape.
Tea plantations. That? Oh, okay. That sounds pretty dreamy too. Sipping tea, breathing in the fresh air, maybe doing a little impromptu tea picking dance. But what about healthy living options? Does Malaysia have as much to offer as Indonesia?
Healthy living? Malaysia's got it covered. Plenty of organic farms, eco-resorts, and hiking trails. Plus, they're obsessed with healthy eating. You can find amazing vegetarian and vegan options everywhere. They're not all about nasi lima.
Nasi lemak is delicious though. Okay, fine. Malaysia is stepping up its game, but Indonesia has jamu. These traditional herbal drinks are packed with antioxidants and healing properties. It's like nature's medicine.
Jamu is good stuff, I'll admit. It's good for you. It's good for you. But Malaysia has its own traditional remedies too, you know. They use all sorts of herbs and spices for healing. Plus, they're really into fitness. You see people jogging and cycling everywhere.
Jogging and cycling? That sounds like hard work. I prefer a nice, relaxing yoga session by the beach. But okay. Both countries seem to have a lot to offer when it comes to healthy living. It's hard to pick a winner.
Exactly. It really depends on what you're looking for. Indonesia is all about that spiritual back-to-nature vibe. Malaysia is more modern, luxurious, and diverse in its wellness offerings. Oh.
So, if you want to find yourself, go to Indonesia. If you want to be pampered, go to Malaysia. Is that what you're saying? Sounds like a good summary.
Pretty much. Or, you know, just go to both. Get a Balinese massage one week and a Malaysian spa treatment the next. White shoes. White shoes.
This podcast is brought to you by Gentle AI, your passport to relaxation and exploration. If you want to plan your spa getaway, head over to Gentle AI for all the best tips and deals.
Exactly. Hey, until you're planning your trip, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more travel tips and hilarious banter.
Yes, if you subscribe, you'll receive a lifetime supply of good vibes and travel inspiration. Thank you, Gentle AI.
An endless laughter, But just be sure to let us know which country you like better in the comments section.
Alright, listeners. Let's delve into opportunities for religious and spiritual needs. Indonesia versus Malaysia. A spiritual smackdown?
A spiritual smackdown? Is that even a thing, Mira? Sounds intense. Indonesia and Malaysia, let's see which offers more enlightenment, or at least less traffic on the way to enlightenment.
Well, Leo, both are known for strong Islamic presence, right? But Indonesia's got a bigger population, meaning more mosques, more temples, more everything. Wow.
True, Indonesia's got sheer volume. It's like the Costco of spirituality, bulk discounts on inner peace. But Malaysia, while smaller, has that multicultural blend, right? You get a mix of Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism. It's like a spiritual smoothie.
I like that, Leo. Makes it sound delicious. In Indonesia, you've got ancient temples like Borobudur and and talk about stunning. Aha!
Oh, absolutely. Borobudur at sunrise Instagram goal. But don't sleep on Malaysia's Batu Caves. Climbing those stairs feels like a pilgrimage in itself. Ouch! Plus, the monkeys add a certain genius his quo.
Always a gamble, Leo. Are they going to bring you closer to enlightenment or steal your sunglasses? Speaking of enlightenment, Indonesia has some cool spiritual retreats in Bali.
Bali, the land of yoga and overpriced smoothie bowls. But seriously, those retreats offer a real chance to disconnect and find your inner influencer. Malaysia's got quieter spots too, like the Cameron Highlands for a more introspective vibe.
Introspective vibe sounds lovely, Leo. Back to Indonesia, their constitution protects religious freedom, right? It's not all sunshine on rainbows, but generally, folks can practice what they preach.
Generally being the keyword, Malaysia's constitution also protects religious freedom, but Islam is the state religion. So, there can be subtleties. It's more of a carefully curated playlist than a free-for-all DJ set.
A carefully curated playlist. Another great analogy, Leo. So, for our listeners looking for religious diversity, Indonesia's sprawling archipelago offers a wide range. From the mosques in Java to the churches in Flores, many options. Wow.
And for those seeking that blend of cultures, Malaysia's got you. You can visit a mosque in the morning, a Chinese temple in the afternoon, and an Indian temple in the afternoon, and an Indian temple in the evening. It's like a spiritual buffet.
I'm hungry now, Leo. So, to sum it up, both countries offer amazing opportunities for religious exploration. It just depends on what flavor of spirituality you're craving. Ah,
Exactly. Whether you prefer the Costco-sized selection of Indonesia or the spiritual smoothie of Malaysia, both offer paths to something. Just watch out for those smoothie prices and thieving monkeys. And don't forget to check out Jet AI for more in-depth comparisons.
alright, Leah. Let's tackle social equality, respect for minorities, and diversity in Indonesia and Malaysia. Buckle up, because this is a big one.
Big indeed, Mira. Yeah, it's like comparing the very complex coffee blends. Each has its unique flavor profile, but some might be a tad bitter for certain palates.
I like that, Leo. I'm already visualizing a spicy Indonesian kopi versus sweet Malaysian TH Tariq. Oh, so, let's dive in. Indonesia, with its thousands of islands and hundreds of ethnic groups, is basically a diversity explosion.
Explosion is right. It's like someone threw a box of crayons into a blender and said, okay, nation, go. But all that color doesn't always translate to perfect harmony, does it?
You're not wrong, Leo. Officially, Indonesia recognizes 6 religions, but the reality is sometimes a bit more nuanced, shall we say?
Nuanced is putting it mildly. It's like saying my jokes are slightly sarcastic. There's a dominant group, and sometimes those not in it feel a bit squeezed.
But Indonesia has a national motto, Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which means unity in diversity. It sounds lovely, doesn't it?
It does, but mottos are like New Year's resolutions, great in theory, harder in practice. It's about whether everyone feels that unity, not just if it's written down.
So, what about Malaysia, Leo? How does it stack up in the diversity department?
Well, Malaysia's got its own mix of Malay, Chinese, Indian, and indigenous groups. It's less of a crayon explosion and more of a carefully layered cake.
Layered cake? I like it. But does everyone get an equal slice of that cake? That's the question, isn't it? Boom!
Ah, the million ringgit question. Malaysia has policies that favor Minorities, which are mostly Malay, and that can create some friction.
A bit like getting some people a head start in a race, while others are still tying their shoelaces?
Precisely. It's intended to address historical imbalances, but it can fail to those not in the favored group. Ouch!
And that can lead to some social tensions, right? I mean, nobody likes feeling like they're not on a level playing field.
No, they don't. It's like me trying to play basketball. I'm at a distinct disadvantage. I might as well make the whole process a joke.
You and basketball. It'd pay to see that, Leo. But back to Malaysia. Does it have any protections for minorities or initiatives to promote social equality?
It does have laws against discrimination, and there are efforts to promote interreligious harmony. But the Bumipewter policies are always the elephant in the room. Wow.
An elephant in a batik shirt, maybe? So both countries have diversity, but face challenges in ensuring true social equality for all their citizens.
That's the gist of it. It's like both countries are trying to juggle flaming torches. Impressive, but a bit nerve-wracking.
I feel we should invite our listeners to visit Jet AI. There they can find more resources and information on these topics.
Fantastic point, Mira. I encourage our listeners to write their opinion in the comments section on YouTube.
Alright, Leo. Let's tackle this financial beast. Taxation, retirement, and social rights for immigrants in Indonesia and Malaysia. Sounds thrilling, doesn't it?
Thrilling like watching paint dry, Mira, but crucial if you don't want to end up eating instant noodles in your golden years. Let's dive in before I need another caffeine injection.
So imagine you're a retiree, sipping coconut water on a Bali beach. Sounds idyllic, right? But what about taxes? Indonesia has a tax residency rule. You're taxed on your worldwide income if you stay over 183 days a year.
Ah, the classic catch-22. Sun-kissed retirement, but Uncle Sam, or rather, Uncle Indonesia, wants a cut. Malaysia's similar, Mira. Become a tax resident more than 182 days and boom, taxable income. Though some income from overseas might be exempt.
Exemptions are the magic words, Leo. In Indonesia, the tax amnesty programs of the past offered some relief, but there's always available. It's like a financial Easter egg hunt.
An Easter egg hunt with the taxman. Malaysia has the Malaysia My Second Home program. MN2H offers some tax perks for participants, specifically exemptions for foreign source income remitted to Malaysia.
And then to H is like the VIP pass to tax-friendly living. Wow, but there are hoops, right? Like minimum income requirements on fixed deposits. Always a catch, always.
Of course, Mira. It wouldn't be government-sponsored if it were straightforward. Those MN2Hms get pricier every year, it seems. But hey, think of the beaches.
Beaches and paperwork. My two favorite things, practically neck and neck. What about retirement? In Indonesia, foreigners can't directly access the national pension scheme.
Nope. Indonesia's social security, BPJS Ketenaga Kerjaan, is mostly for Indonesian citizens and permanent residents. So, you're relying on your own returns or national schemes, Mira.
DI retirement. Back to those instant noodles, maybe. Oops. Malaysia allows you to use your employee's provident fund, or EPF, if you're a non-citizen who has contributed, but cashing it out comes with restrictions.
EPF withdrawals are tempting, but remember that money's supposed to last you, until the heat death of the universe. Plus tax implications on those withdrawals.
Oh, tax implications everywhere. Like glitter, it gets everywhere. Ooh. And social rights, accessing healthcare and education for immigrant retirees?
Healthcare in Indonesia, let's just say the public system isn't always the most efficient. Many expats opt for private insurance. Education for kids. International schools are pricey, but offer a familiar curriculum.
Pricey indeed. We're talking second mortgage pricey. Whoa. In Malaysia, the public healthcare system is accessible, but again, private insurance is popular for shorter wait times and better facilities.
Shorter wait times are worth their weight in gold, Mira. Time is money and all that jazz. International schools in Malaysia have a decent reputation, and costs are a bit lower than some Western countries.
A bit lower is music to my ears. Maybe just one mortgage then. But what about property ownership? Can our retirees even buy a little slice of paradise?
Buying property in Indonesia as a foreigner is complicated. Aha! Leasehold titles are more common. Freehold, rare and with restrictions. Plus, nominee arrangements are risky. Don't even get me started.
Nominee arrangements, the legal equivalent of playing with fire. Ouch. Malaysia's a bit clearer. Foreigners can buy property, but there are minimum purchase prices and state-level regulations.
Minimum purchase prices that make your eyes water. Mira. Wow. And those state-level regulations. Prepare for bureaucratic fun times.
Bureaucratic fun times, my favorite theme park ride. N-O-T. So, if you're plotting your golden years, what's the takeaway?
Do your homework, Mira. Get a good tax advisor, understand the residency rules, and factor in healthcare costs, and maybe pack extra sunscreen.
Sunscreen and a healthy dose of skepticism. Indonesia and Malaysia beautiful, but financially tread carefully.
And don't forget to like and subscribe, folks. This info might save you from a future of, you guessed it, instant noodles. Haha!
Thanks, Jetofei I, for letting us explore this thrillingly complex topic. Now, if you excuse me, I'm off to plan my meticulously researched, financially sound, and thoroughly tax beach vacation. I've caved into how Indonesia and Malaysia cater to our quirky hobbies. Which country is the go-to for? Say, competitive kite flying? Oh!
Kite flying. That's a tough one. Both have serious kite scenes, but I'd lean toward Indonesia. Their kite festivals are insane giant kites. Serious business? Malaysia's got its kite game too, but Indonesia just edges it out with sheer scale.
True. Those Indonesian kite festivals are like, hold my boutique. I'm about to launch a dragon. What about diving? Malaysia's Saipadan is legendary. How does Indonesia stack up? Wow.
Saipadan is gold standard for sure. But Indonesia, Raya and Komodo. Those are diving heavens too. Think of it this way, Malaysia's got that one superstar dive spot, but Indonesia's got like the entire Avengers team of dive spots.
Good point. It's like Malaysia's a precision instrument, while Indonesia's a wild, sprawling playground. Now let's talk about something near and dear to my heart, Bollywood dancing. Which country brings the film I heat? Ooh.
Mira? Seriously? Bollywood dancing? Okay, I'll play along. While both have vibrant Indian communities, Malaysia's Bollywood scene seems a bit more mainstream. Indonesia has smaller but dedicated following who are pretty intense about their Bollywood, so Indonesia it is.
You know me too well. I can already see myself teaching a flash mob in Jakarta. What about quirky niche stuff? Like amateur radio clubs or competitive bird singing? Which country wins the weird hobby Olympics? Whoa.
Competitive bird singing, seriously. Okay, I think Indonesia wins this hands down. They're fanatical about their songbirds. I've seen bird markets there that are bigger than some towns. Malaysia's got its bird enthusiasts, but Indonesia turns it into a national sport.
I can just picture the intense bird singing competitions like Avian American Idol. Okay, last one, extreme tea appreciation societies. Where can I find the most hardcore tea fanatics?
Extreme tea appreciation? You're killing me, Mira. I'd say Malaysia has a more developed tea culture, influenced by its British colonial past. Think afternoon tea, scones, that sort of thing. Indonesia has great tea, but it's not quite the same level of obsession. Wow.
AWW, I was hoping for some Indonesian tea ceremony madness. But I agree, Malaysia has that refined tea vibe. So, overall, it seems like Indonesia caters to some really wild, passionate niche interests, while Malaysia offers a more accessible mainstream hobby scene. Right?
Exactly. Malaysia is your chill, organized hobby hangout. Indonesia is where you go when you want to dive headfirst into something completely bonkers.
So, if you're looking for some quirky passion or a specialized event, that the basic idea on the rate of meeting specific interests is Indonesia and Malaysia could be great choices.